The wind was quiet at first, moving gently across the strange red fields of the alien world. The human explorer, Daniel, walked with a heavy pack on his back, his eyes always watching the sky. He had been here for months, and he had learned that this planet never stayed calm for long. The silence was never true silence, it was the pause before danger. Near him walked Arya, the alien girl, tall and graceful with bright silver eyes. She was young and curious, always laughing at human fear. To her, the world was not dangerous, it was home. But Daniel had seen storms here before, and he knew what they could do. "Arya," he said in a steady voice, "we should return to the shelter now." His tone was serious, heavy with warning, but Arya only laughed, a soft echo that rang in the quiet air. "Humans," she said, "always afraid, always running back to their caves." Daniel stopped walking and looked at her closely. Her silver eyes shone like light, but they carried no caution. He wanted to tell her the truth. The storms here were not natural. They were alive, filled with things that should never be touched. But she would not listen, he already knew. Above them, the sky was shifting. The faint blue color was fading, giving way to a darker shade. Clouds formed in strange shapes, twisting like smoke. Daniel felt the hair on his arms rise, a sign of energy building in the air. Arya stepped forward, pointing at the horizon. "There," she said proudly, "the old ruins of my people. I will go and see them." Daniel shook his head, his voice urgent now. "Not today, the storm is coming." "You must believe me," she turned, her face calm, almost amused. "Storms come and go, Daniel, you hide from them, but we live with them." Her words cut him like knives, because he knew she did not understand. These were not storms of wind and rain. They were storms of death. He reached out, grabbing her arm. "Listen to me," he whispered. "This storm is not like the others. It will kill you if you stay out here." But she pulled her arm free, her silver skin glowing faintly under the strange light of the sky. She looked at him as if he were a frightened child. "You worry too much," she said. "Humans cannot see what is real. You imagine danger everywhere." Daniel felt anger rising, but deeper than anger was fear. He had survived here because he learned to read the planet's warning signs, and now those signs were screaming. Louder and louder, the silence in the air, the strange pressure in the wind, the taste of iron on his tongue. Everything told him that time was running out. He dropped his pack and pointed to the distance. "Look, Arya, look at the horizon. Do you see the darkness moving?" She followed his gaze, her eyes narrowing far away. The sky was no longer clear, it was rolling, alive. Shadows curled and uncurled, as if the sky itself was breathing. But still she shook her head. "It is only the wind," she said softly. Her voice was calm, but Daniel saw her hand tremble for a second. He knew she saw it too, even if she refused to admit it. The ground beneath them gave a faint tremor. Not much, just enough to shake a few stones loose. Daniel felt his stomach turn. He remembered the last time. He remembered screams, shadows, and the way light itself was eaten by the storm. He could not let her walk into this, "Arya," he said again, his voice lower, more desperate. "You must listen. If you go forward, you will not come back, please. Believe me." But her pride was stronger than his fear. She raised her chin and smiled as if she were above his warning. "I am not weak, Daniel, I am not human, I do not need to hide." The words stabbed into him, because he knew what was coming. The sky groaned, a long deep sound like the roar of some hidden beast. Arya turned to look, but still her smile remained. Daniel clenched his fists, his mind racing. How could he make her understand? How could he show her the truth before it was too late? The wind picked up, carrying a strange whisper. It was not the sound of air. It was the sound of voices, faint, broken, hungry. Daniel felt a chill race through his body. This was it, the storm was waking. He looked at her one last time, her silver eyes glowing, her pride unbroken, and he realized the truth. She would not listen, no matter what he said. And because of that, she would suffer. The first dark cloud cracked open above them, lightning without light spreading through the sky. Daniel grabbed his pack and ran for shelter, but Arya stood still, her eyes fixed on the storm, her heart full of pride, her ears deaf to the warning. The warning had been given, but it had been ignored. And the storm was almost here. The storm had not yet broken, but its breath was heavy on the land. Dark clouds twisted in shapes that no natural wind could make. The ground trembled now and then. Like the world itself was restless, yet Arya, the alien girl, still walked with pride in her step. Behind her, Daniel followed, his face pale, his heart beating fast. He knew what was coming, but she refused to believe. Her silver hair caught the strange light of the sky. To her it was beauty. But to him it was warning. "Arya," he said, his voice sharp, "you must stop. You must go back." But she only laughed, the sound light and careless. "Why are humans always afraid?" she asked. "Your eyes see danger where there is none." Her tone was mocking. But Daniel saw something else, something hiding under her words. Her laughter was too quick, her steps too fast. He wondered if even she was starting to feel the change in the air. Around them the fields shifted. The red grass bent though there was no wind. Shadows stretched across the ground though the sun was hidden. The whole land seemed to lean toward the coming storm. Daniel stopped, planting his boots firmly in the dirt. "Arya, you do not understand. This is not just a storm, it is alive, it hunts. It destroys everything." But she waved her hand, as if brushing away his warning. "You speak in fear." "Not in truth," she replied, her silver eyes glowed. But Daniel thought he saw them flicker with doubt for just a moment. A small group of her alien friends appeared in the distance. They had been exploring the ruins nearby. They ran to her side, laughing and calling out. When they saw Daniel, they smirked. "Still warning, human," one of them said. Still shaking like a child. Arya smiled at their words, her pride swelling again. "Daniel fears the wind," she said. "He fears the sky. He fears what he cannot control." The others laughed, their voices loud in the growing silence of the world. But Daniel did not move, his eyes stayed locked on the sky. The laughter of the aliens was sharp, but the whisper of the storm was sharper. The ground shook again, stronger this time. Loose stones tumbled down from the broken ruins nearby. The alien laughter paused, their eyes darting to the horizon. Even they could feel the power now. But still Arya lifted her chin, refusing to bend. "Do you not see?" Daniel shouted. Pointing to the horizon, the clouds rolled like a living sea, shadows crawling in their depths. Something vast moved inside the storm, a shape too large to name. The sky itself seemed to shiver as the darkness spread. Arya's friends grew quiet. They looked at one another. Fear sparking in their silver eyes, one of them whispered, "Maybe we should return." But Arya shook her head sharply. "No, do not listen to him. Storms are part of our world. They come and they go." Her pride chained her words, but her hands were tight at her sides. Daniel saw her body tremble, even as her voice tried to stay strong. He wanted to shout again, to grab her and force her back. But he knew it would be useless. She would never forgive him, and she would never follow unless she chose. The storm voice grew louder. A sound like whispers, broken and endless, filled the air. It was not wind, it was not thunder, it was language. The language of something ancient and hungry. Daniel's skin crawled, his heart thudded painfully. The storm was calling, and it was almost here. Arya's friends began to back away, fear pulling them toward safety. But Arya stood firm, her silver eyes burning with defiance. She looked at Daniel with a cold smile. "You think you know this world better than me," she said. "You think your human fear is stronger than my blood. But you are wrong." Her voice was steady, but Daniel saw the crack in her armor. She heard the voices too. She felt the tremors. She knew something was wrong, but her pride was stronger than her reason, and pride would blind her until the end. The ground opened slightly with a low groan. Dust rose, and the air stank of metal and ash. Daniel felt his breath catch in his throat. The first signs of the storm creatures were coming. He could almost see them, shadows moving just beyond the clouds. Not yet clear, but waiting, circling, ready to fall. "Arya," he whispered, no longer shouting. His voice was softer now, almost pleading. "Please, this is your last chance. Come with me." But she turned away, her silver hair whipping in the rising wind. She would not answer. Her pride was her shield, but it was also her chain. Daniel picked up his pack again, his heart breaking with the weight of choice. He could stay and die beside her, or leave and live with the truth. The storm screamed louder, its voice shaking the ground. Arya stood at the edge of the ruins, her figure small against the sky, and in that moment Daniel knew she had ignored the truth, and soon she would pay for it. The ignored truth was no longer hidden. It was coming for her, and it was closer than she realized. The sky darkened faster than Arya had ever seen before. Colors twisted, blue fading into black, black bleeding into red. The horizon rolled with shadows that moved like living beasts. The air grew heavy, pressing down on the land. Pressing down on her chest, Daniel hurried toward his shelter, his boots striking the dirt in sharp rhythm. Every step felt like a countdown, each second closer to the storm's arrival, but Arya did not follow. She stood on the broken ruins, her silver eyes locked on the shifting clouds. She wanted to believe she was stronger, but deep inside her heart beat with unease. Her friends had already run back, their laughter gone, replaced by fear. They had seen the whispers in the wind. They had felt the tremors in the ground, but Arya stayed, her pride a chain that held her to the ruins. She would not admit the human was right, not yet. The air snapped with static. Thin streaks of light moved across the clouds, not lightning, but something stranger, like veins glowing inside a giant body. Daniel reached his shelter and turned back. His eyes searched for her, desperate, angry, terrified all at once. "Arya!" he shouted, his voice torn by the wind. She did not answer, though she heard him. Her eyes were wide now, no longer mocking. She could see shapes in the storm, tall shifting forms. They were not clouds, not mist, not wind. Something alive was waiting. Her hands trembled, though she tried to hide it. Her silver skin glowed faintly under the strange sky. She whispered to herself, "It is only a storm, only a storm." But her words felt empty. Lost in the roar that built above, the ground cracked again, small lines spreading through the dirt. A low hum rose, vibrating through her bones. The ruins shook, ancient stone breaking into dust. Daniel's voice cut through the chaos. "You will die if you stay. You must come now." Arya's pride battled with her fear. Her chest ached with the weight of choice. To run would mean admitting he was right. To stay would mean risking everything. Her pride screamed to stay. Her blood screamed to flee. The storm voice grew clearer. The whispers twisted into words. Not human words, not alien words, but something older, colder. It spoke with hunger, with patience, with promise. Arya's skin prickled, her heart froze. She knew then, this was no storm, it was a predator. Daniel banged on the shelter door, torn between rushing to drag her back and saving himself. He could not leave her, but he could not reach her in time. The storm was too close, too strong. The ground shook harder, dust rose like smoke. The planet itself seemed to cry out. Arya stumbled, her foot slipping on the crumbling ruins. Her breath came fast, her pride cracking under the storm's weight. She looked at Daniel, and for the first time she saw no weakness in him. She saw only truth in his warning. But still her pride chained her tongue. She could not call for help. Not yet. The air twisted, cold and hot all at once. Shadows poured down from the sky like liquid. They were tall, thin, faceless, their bodies like smoke wrapped in lightning. They circled her, their whispers loud, pressing into her mind, every word cut like a knife. Every sound pulled her strength away. Arya froze, her silver eyes wide. Her chest rose and fell in panic. Her hands clenched to fists. For the first time she wanted to run, but her legs would not move. Fear pinned her where pride once stood. Daniel slammed his fist against the shelter wall. He wanted to go to her, but the storm was already wrapping around. If he stepped outside now, he would be lost too. He shouted her name again, louder, rawer. But the storm swallowed his voice. Arya tried to scream back, but no sound came. Her voice was stolen, her strength draining like water from broken glass. She felt the storm press into her body, her blood turning cold. The shadows closed in, whispering louder. Her ears rang with 1,000 voices, all promising her end. The ruins shook harder. Breaking apart piece by piece, a tower crumbled, crashing into dust near her feet. She stumbled again, falling to her knees. Her pride shattered now, replaced by terror. But it was too late. The first shadow reached for her. Its smoke-like hand brushed her shoulder. A burning pain spread through her skin. Her body shook, her silver glow flickered. She cried out at last. The sound sharp, filled with fear. Daniel heard her, his heart twisting like a knife inside his chest. But the storm wall had already fallen between them. He could see her faint outline through the swirling darkness, her form trembling, shrinking, surrounded by shadows. And he knew this was only the beginning. The storm roared now, louder than thunder. The world bent under its voice, the air screamed. Arya's silver glow blinked weakly inside the storm, her body small against the endless dark. And Daniel pressed his forehead against the shelter wall, knowing he had warned her, knowing she had ignored him, and knowing the storm would show no mercy. The storm had fully awakened, its voice echoing across the land. Every breath of wind carried whispers, every shadow carried movement. Daniel pressed against the shelter wall, his fists clenched, his heart tearing inside. He had seen storms before, but never one this strong, never one this alive. Arya stood trapped in the ruins, Her body trembling, her silver glow flickering, her eyes darted from side to side, trying to follow the shadows that circled her. They moved too fast, too silent, too wrong. Every time she blinked, they were closer. Every time she turned, they were behind her. The ground split wider with a loud crack. Dust shot upward, choking the air. The old stones of the ruins broke apart, collapsing under invisible pressure. Arya stumbled backward, barely keeping her balance. The pride that once filled her heart was gone. Now only fear controlled her breath. The first shadow finally stepped clear from the storm. It was tall, taller than the ruins. Its body made of smoke and lightning. Its face was empty, yet somehow it stared directly at her. Her chest tightened. Her voice caught in her throat. The air froze around her as the creature leaned forward. It did not walk. It drifted as if the ground itself pushed it closer. Daniel's eyes widened as he saw the figure. He had prayed the stories were false. But here was the truth. The storm did not just destroy. It carried hunters inside. Hunters that fed on the living. His hand shook against the glass slit in the shelter door. "Arya," he whispered. "You should have listened." The creature raised a hand of smoke. Thin fingers stretched, crackling with faint blue sparks. It touched the broken stone beside Arya. The stone hissed, cracked, and turned to black dust in seconds. Arya gasped, stumbling back again, her legs trembling. She wanted to scream, but fear chained her voice. The whispers grew louder. They were not only in the wind now, they were inside her head. They spoke in broken tones, voices promising pain, voices promising silence. She pressed her hands to her ears, but the sound remained. The storm was inside her. Crawling through her mind, Daniel struck the door again. His teeth clenched in helpless rage. He could not break it open. The storm would tear him apart if he stepped outside. All he could do was watch her. Watch as the truth she had ignored surrounded her on every side. The first signs of danger were no longer hidden. They were here. They were real. They were reaching for her. Arya's knees buckled. Her body hit the ground. Her silver skin dimmed, her glow fading into gray. She clawed at the dirt, trying to crawl back. But the ruins offered no safety. No wall strong enough to hide her. The storm laughed, its voice booming like thunder. The creature leaned closer. Its hand hovered above her chest, waiting to strike. Her pride cracked fully then. She screamed Daniel's name, her voice sharp with terror. For the first time, she admitted the truth. She needed him. She needed help. Her silver eyes, once proud, now begged for mercy. But mercy did not live inside the storm. Daniel's heart broke at the sound. He had warned her again and again. Now her scream would haunt him forever. He slammed his head against the door, tears burned in his eyes, rage and sorrow mixing until he could not breathe. The storm swirled faster. The shadows multiplied, their faceless bodies surrounding her like a cage. Each one whispered, their voices blending into a song of hunger. Arya's scream grew weaker, her strength bleeding out of her body. She kicked, she fought, but her blows passed through smoke. The creatures only laughed, their voices sharp and cruel. The ground shook with every step they took. The ruins cracked further, ancient history crushed into dust. The air smelled of ash, iron, and fear. Arya's chest heaved, her body trembling harder with every breath. She tried to rise, but the storm pushed her down again. The weight of it pressed on her like a mountain. Daniel closed his eyes for a moment. He tried to block out the sight, tried to block out her cries, but her voice cut through him, slicing into his soul. He pressed his forehead against the cold metal of the shelter wall, his mind screaming at him to stay inside, but his heart screaming at him to go. When he looked again, Arya was crawling, her hands bleeding against the sharp stone. Her silver glow flickered like a dying flame, her eyes locked on him through the storm. Her lips moved, shaping words he could not hear, but he knew what she was saying. "Help me." The creature raised its hand higher. Energy crackled, filling the air with deadly light. Arya screamed, her body shaking violently. The storm roared louder, the earth trembled. And Daniel knew. The first strike was about to fall. The first signs of danger had become the first strike of death. The warning was over. The storm had begun its hunt. The first strike fell. The shadow's hand touched the ground beside Arya, and the stone shattered into dust. The air hissed like fire. The ruins trembled, and the world seemed to hold its breath. Arya screamed, throwing herself backward. Her pride fully broken now, fear ruled her heart, and her glowing silver eyes filled with tears. Daniel pressed his palms against the shelter glass. Every part of him wanted to run outside to pull her away. But the storm pressed against the door like a wall of iron. If he opened it now, both of them would be lost. He could only watch as the consequences of her choice unfolded before him. The shadow leaned closer, its faceless head tilting like a predator studying prey. Whispers poured into the air, heavy and sharp. They did not speak in her language, or his. They spoke in hunger, in cruelty, and promise of death. Each word made Arya's bones ache. Each sound stole her strength. Her hands clawed at the ground, her nails cracking against stone. She tried to crawl, tried to escape, but the storm pushed against her. It was like an invisible ocean crushing her body. Her chest burned, her breath came in sharp gasps. Every movement felt like dragging chains. The shadow reached again, and this time its hand brushed her arm. Her silver glow flared, then dimmed. The touch burned like fire and ice at once. She cried out in pain, her voice breaking into sobs. The glow spread across her skin, then flickered as if the storm was stealing it. Daniel shouted her name, his voice raw, but his cry was swallowed by the roar of the storm. She could not hear him, or maybe she was too far gone to listen. The storm owned her now, its power crawling into her veins. Arya's body shook violently, her arms gave out. Her face pressed into the dust. Her silver hair spread across the ground like fallen light. Her pride was ashes now, her laughter gone. All that remained was suffering. The other shadows moved closer, circling her, their faceless forms bent low, their whispers louder. It was not one voice anymore, but many. A chorus of hunger, a choir of doom. Arya's sobs grew weaker. Lost under their song, the ruins collapsed piece by piece. Every crash sent shockwaves through the dirt. The air was filled with ash and broken stone, but still the shadows came closer. Still they pressed against her body. Still they drank her strength. Daniel could not look away. He wanted to close his eyes, but her suffering chained him. This was the consequence he had tried to prevent. This was the truth he had shouted again and again, but she had not listened. And now the storm punished her. Arya lifted her head, her silver eyes glowing faintly. She looked at him through the storm wall, her lips moving slowly. He could not hear, but he knew the words. "Forgive me." Daniel's chest tore open with sorrow. He slammed his fist into the door until his skin split. Blood smeared the glass, his breath fogged against the window. But nothing could change what was happening outside. The storm had chosen her, and the storm never let go. Arya screamed again as another shadow touched her. Her body convulsed, her glow snapped brighter, then dimmer. It was like her life was being pulled out piece by piece. Her hands clawed at the dirt, leaving streaks of blood. Her pride was gone, her defiance shattered. Only regret filled her eyes now. The ground shook violently, the ruins fully collapsing. A tower split and crashed beside her, nearly crushing her body. Dust filled her lungs. Choking her breath, she coughed, her voice weak, broken. The storm drowned her cries with laughter. The shadows pressed closer, their faceless heads turning toward her heart. Daniel's mind screamed. He wanted to fight, wanted to break through, but his body was frozen, trapped by fear and the storm's invisible chains. He pressed his forehead against the glass, tears burning down his face, and whispered, "I told you. I warned you." Arya collapsed again. Her face in the dirt, her silver glow pulsed weakly. Dimmer with every second, her chest rose and fell in shallow gasps. Her body was not her own anymore, the storm owned it. Each whisper from the shadows pulled her deeper, each touch stripped more of her strength. Her screams faded into silence, only the storm's voice remained. The once proud alien girl lay broken in the ruins, her laughter a memory, her pride turned to dust. Now she was only a warning made flesh, a warning that Daniel knew no one else would heed until it was too late. The consequences had begun, and they were merciless. Arya's body trembled on the broken ground. Her silver glow flickered like a candle fighting against the wind. The storm whispered louder, filling her ears, crawling inside her mind. Her strength was almost gone, but her spirit clung to life. The first shadow bent closer, its smoke-like face hovering above her. No mouth, no eyes, no mercy. It pressed its hand against her chest. A burning pain spread through her veins. Her scream ripped through the storm, sharp and raw. Daniel heard her from inside the shelter. Her voice cut through the thunder, through the roar of whispers. He slammed his fists against the door, his voice hoarse, but he could not reach her. The storm wall was too strong, too alive. It kept him prisoner while it devoured her, Arya's hands clawed at the shadow's arm. Her fingers passed through smoke and lightning. The creature did not move, did not care, it only pressed harder, whispering louder. Her bones shook, her body arched in pain. Her silver eyes blurred with tears. Fight, she told herself, her voice weak inside her mind. Do not give them everything. Her arms shook violently, but she forced them upward. She pushed against the creature. Though her hands sank into mist, it was like fighting against air. Against nothing, but still she fought. Because to surrender was death. Daniel's heart pounded, his eyes fixed on her small figure in the storm. He saw her struggle, her body thrashing against shadows she could not touch. Her pride was gone, but her will to live remained. He whispered her name over and over. Arya, fight, fight. Don't let them take you. The storm laughed. Its voice echoing across the ruins, the ground cracked wider. Lightless lightning struck the earth. Shadows poured from the sky like rain. They circled her, whispering, singing. Pulling her deeper, the air bent under their weight. The land itself seemed to groan with suffering. Arya pushed herself to her knees, her arms shook, her chest burned. Her breath came ragged, she tried to crawl away, tried to escape the circle of shadows. Her body dragged across the dirt. Her silver hair streaked with ash and blood. One of the creatures darted forward. Its hand struck her leg. Pain seared through her body. Her glow flared, then dimmed again. She cried out, her fingers clawing at the ground, but she refused to stop moving. Each inch forward was a war, each breath a battle. Daniel's tears blurred his sight. He could not stand this. He could not stand watching her break. He slammed his head against the shelter wall. Helplessness crushed him heavier than any storm. But his body would not betray him. He could not open the door. He could not doom them both. Arya's body shook harder. Her arms gave way, and she collapsed once more, but her spirit sparked. Small, fragile, yet burning, she clenched her fists, dragged herself upward again. The storm roared in anger. The shadows pressed harder, their whispers screaming. But still she tried to rise. Her silver glow pulsed, faint but stubborn. It flickered like the last star in a dying sky. The storm clawed at it, tearing it piece by piece. But the light refused to go out. Not yet, Daniel, she whispered. Her voice faint but clear enough for him to see through her lips. Her silver eyes met his through the storm wall. For the first time, no pride remained in them. Only fear, only regret, only the desperate will to live. Help me. Her lips shaped again. Daniel's soul broke. Every instinct screamed to rush out to save her, but reason chained him. The storm would devour them both if he left. His fists bled against the glass, his teeth ground together. He whispered back, though she could not hear. Fight, Arya. Fight until the end. The shadows tightened around her. Their faceless forms loomed over her body. Their hands reached again, their whispers rose into a cruel song. The ground cracked deeper beneath her. The ruins shattered into ash. The planet itself seemed to turn against her. But Arya pushed upward one more time. Her scream ripped from her throat. Her silver glow burst brighter for a moment. The shadows recoiled, their whispers breaking for one heartbeat. She stood, her body shaking, her eyes burning. She had not surrendered. Not yet, Daniel gasped, hope stabbing into his chest. He pressed against the glass, his heart racing. She's fighting, he whispered. She's still fighting. But the storm was endless. The shadows were countless, her strength was small. Her body broken. The glow faded again. Her scream turned into a sob. Her knees buckled and she fell once more. The storm roared in triumph. Its voice shook the sky. The shadows leaned in, their whispers deafening. Arya's hands twitched weakly. Her silver glow blinked. Her struggle was nearly over. But she had fought, she had resisted. Even as the storm swallowed her, she had fought. And Daniel knew this was her struggle. Her fight against consequences she had chosen. A battle no one could win. But a battle she could not stop fighting until the end. The storm no longer tested her. It owned her. Arya lay broken on the ground, her body trembling under the weight of shadows. Her silver glow pulsed faintly, like a dying ember fighting against night. Every breath rattled in her chest. Each gasp weaker than the last. The shadows crowded closer. Their whispers louder, they no longer circled. They pressed against her body. Their smoke-like hands reached across her arms, her shoulders, her back. Each touch drained more of her strength, more of her light. Her veins burned as though filled with fire. Her skin shivered like ice. Daniel pressed against the shelter glass, his face pale. His fists were raw from striking the door again and again. Blood smeared across his knuckles. Sweat ran down his face. But still he could not break free. The storm wall held him prisoner while she suffered outside. Arya's scream tore through the wind. It was not the sound of pride. Not the sound of defiance, it was the sound of agony. Her voice cracked, breaking into sobs. Tears streaked down her silver cheeks, mixing with ash and dirt. "Stop," she begged, her voice hoarse. But the storm had no mercy. The whispers laughed, their voices cutting into her mind. They spoke of her weakness, they mocked her regret. They promised her silence, they promised her end. The ground shook violently. The ruins collapsed further, stone crushing into dust, ash swirled around her body. Choking her lungs, she coughed, her chest convulsing. The storm pressed tighter, stealing even the air from her. Her silver glow blinked. It flared once, then dimmed again. Her body twitched, her hands clawed at the dirt. But her arms were too weak to move her forward. Her legs shook, then fell still. She was trapped, pinned under the weight of the storm. Daniel shouted her name until his throat burned, but his voice could not pierce the roar. He slammed his forehead against the glass. The helplessness crushed him, heavier than the storm itself. He had warned her, but she had not listened, and now he was forced to watch her break. The storm's laughter grew sharper. The shadows moved faster. One pressed its hand against her chest again. Her silver glow snapped bright, then dimmed further. She screamed, her body arching in pain. Her voice cracked into silence, her lips trembling. The sound died in her throat, leaving only gasps. Her suffering was endless. Every heartbeat was punishment. Every breath was stolen by the storm. Her tears fell into the dust, vanishing instantly. Her eyes flickered open and shut, her body shaking with every strike of shadow. The whispers filled her head until she could no longer think. Her memories blurred, her laughter vanished. Her pride was gone, her joy gone, only pain remained, only regret. Her mind screamed, but her body was silent. "Daniel," she mouthed, though no sound came. Her silver eyes sought his through the storm wall. Her lips trembled, shaping his name again and again. Her hands twitched weakly, reaching toward him. But the distance was endless. The storm would never let her reach him. Daniel's tears blurred his sight. His breath came in ragged sobs. He pressed his bloody hand against the glass, as if pressing closer could save her. As if his strength could reach through the storm, but the wall of shadows held her prisoner. And held him in silence. The storm raged louder. The ground cracked wide, lightless lightning splitting the sky. The air screamed like a living thing. The shadows pressed their weight harder onto her chest. Her body convulsed again. Her glow flickered like a star dying in the void. Arya's scream returned, faint and broken. Her voice was no longer sharp, it was weak. Trembling, soaked in pain, she begged without words, her eyes shining with tears, her lips whispering for mercy. But mercy was not in the storm, it was not in the shadows. It was not in the consequences she now faced. Her silver glow pulsed one last time. It stretched across her skin, bright but thin, then snapped. The light dimmed until only faint sparks remained. Her chest heaved, her voice broke into silence again. She collapsed fully, her body limp. The shadows leaned closer, their whispers triumphant. Daniel fell to his knees inside the shelter. His hands covered his face, he could not watch anymore. But still he could not look away. Her suffering chained his eyes, chained his heart. Every second cut deeper into him. Every cry tore his soul apart. Arya twitched weakly, her hand dragging across the dirt, her silver fingers streaked with blood. She reached toward the glass one last time, her eyes locking on his, filled with sorrow. Her lips shaped the words. "I'm sorry," Daniel's sob tore from his chest. He slammed both fists against the glass, his blood smeared across it. His tears fell fast, but nothing changed. Her suffering continued. The storm punished her without pause. Her glow was almost gone now, her voice almost silent, her body almost still, and Daniel knew. The suffering had only one end, and that end was coming fast.